Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Now, it's December here, it's cold, and the fish are not biting like they used to. And let me just tell you, with it being cold, rainy, it's cold, rainy, snowing somewhere, people, like where we live in Kentucky, so a lot of our lakes are being lowered. And it makes for a hard bite. Now, we have not went out fishing too much because we just winterized the boat. But let me just tell you about something. Some of the great winter fishing lures, that winter and fall lures, and this even goes to spring. But I say the number one lures that we throw that catch big bass are, your the Ned rig. Whether that's a TRD, a Googan Rattling Ned, or a little beaver, a little tiny sweet beaver. Let me find it right here. Or even a little tiny swim bait. I mean, these things work no matter what. See, let me just say, the Z-Man stuff with that Elastec, it works pretty good. It stays on your hook for a long time. It makes the Ned rig just float up. That's pretty good. Especially when it's dead still, bird blue skies, no cloud, no wind, no nothing. And they're just eating that dead Ned. We had stuff in Dale Hollow. We went down to Dale Hollow Lake, and that's all the smallmouth and largemouth were eating. Now, that was in the middle of the summer. And what really made a difference for me was they were kind of eating that slow, dead head, the dead Ned. If you don't know what that is, it's basically, here, I don't have a Ned rig out, but let me get this out. That way I don't get that Googan stuff all over me. But basically, when you put your lure, you put the Ned rig on, and you got your lure, and you're basically right here with your lure, and you barely move it, and that lure is going to barely move up. And you do it again, and you only do it, maybe once a minute, maybe once 5 minutes. Like, super boring, slow as molasses, fishing. Then you got some days where they just want to be chasing something, like a jerk bait, which you got right here. This is deep diving. I think this is a Rapala. I'm not for sure, but it's a deep diving crankbait. Alright, jerk bait, my bad. Got crankbaits over there. I picked one up and I thought it was this. Anyhow, they just want to be chasing something like a shad or a bluegill that looks like it's dying. You just throw it out there, you rip it once or rip it 2 or 3 times, get like a 5 or 6 second pause, and it'll hit this. But one thing I've noticed, and not a lot of people throw it around here, especially winter, fall, and really any time, is when you're fishing, say, a grass bank. We have a lot, in Kentucky, we have a lot of rock ledges, a lot of bluff walls, but we also have like a lot of grassy flats. Everybody, they're going to go over it with a rattle trap or some type of spinner bait. These are very common lures that people throw, or they might take a jig and toss it over. But the problem with those lures are the jig, especially in the wintertime, is a little bit too big. It's a little bit too bulky. It gets down the water fast. It looks like a crawl. Crawls are not really out. They're kind of under the rocks. They're kind of, like not around. They're there, but they ain't around. So you got that, like, the jig, and then this color rattle trap mimics more of a crawl. Bass, they ain't going to eat it. They might, but I don't think they're going to eat it because crawls are not around. But what is around is shad and bluegill. See, the lakes where we fish at are full to the brim of shad. Gizzard shad, I forget what else. I think like common shad, something. They have like 4 or 5 species in just one lake in particular that we fish a lot. Now, we throw 3 lures that work very, very well to mimic that shad color. One very common is a paddle-tailed swim bait. This right here is a speed shad from Bass Pro. Listen, this right here is a great lure. Throw it on a drop shot and slowly work it in. Throw it on a Ned rig. I'm telling you what, if you throw this on a Ned rig, I guarantee you'll catch a pretty good sized fish. But not only do we throw that, we also had the Rage swimmers too. You got really good colors in them. I go for these right here are my top 2 favorite colors. The Setsy Shad and then the blue chartreuse, electric blue one. Yeah, this weird looking blue-green color. I like throwing that, especially in smallmouth lakes, and it works very well. But paired that with a Ned rig is phenomenal, but it works really well with a drop shot because I just picked up a drop shot right with the fall transition. I can't speak, but right when it hit fall, that's when I picked it up, and that's when I started noticing that the Z-Man hula sticks in this one color right here, this shad looking color, we're fishing at a very heavily pressured lake called Cave Run, and I'll tell you what, that right there, nose hooked. You want to have nose hooked. Throw it up against a bluff wall, and it's in 20 foot of water. Slowly working it back, I caught one small bass. It was a very, very pressured lake. You're not going to catch a lot there, but you are going to catch some fish. But I caught a small one, and I kept on getting hooked up with pretty decent sized bass. Then we went to another lake, and this right here was the ticket. It was a worse day to go. It was about blue dog, bluebird skies, crappy weather, no wind, no rain, no clouds, no nothing. And the lake didn't have shad, but it did have minnows. And they have some pretty good sized minnows in that lake, and I was throwing this. That lake's also full of crappie. And the bats love to eat crappie in that lake. And this little color, I don't know what it's called. The dill. This color, the dill, works very, very well when they're, when in that fall time, they love, shad patterns, bluegill patterns. Like, here we go. Peanut butter. Peanut butter and jelly, PB&J. Kind of mimics that bluegill kind of look. They love that. But when you're fishing and it's really, really tough and they ain't biting on nothing, the best lure ever is a Senko. This is a black and blue one, Honestly, I throw a green pumpkin or black and blue in any colored water. It don't matter to me. But this lure right here has stood out as being a dominant in fall and winter fishing. Listen, wacky rigged, rugby head, a swinging rugby head rigged, Ned rigged. Like, you can rig this thing on a drop shot, wacky, Texas, it don't matter. You can rig this thing pretty much on anything and still catch a bass. This lure, in particular, is a TNT Custom Lures, TNT Custom Baits. Really good company, local. Honestly, sell great products. And, it just works. But, you know, for soft plastics, I'm going to tell you, fall and winter fishing is hard to begin with, but I think, you know, use a Ned rig and use a drop shot. That's what I think. If they're chasing, you know, like bait fish, you know, they're going after shad, bluegill, I personally would throw a crankbait, a deep diving crankbait, or a rattle trap, or a jerkbait, a deep diving jerkbait that has a rattle on it. But one lure that I think year-round, 24/7, 7 days a week, can't go wrong with, I always think, is the good old spinnerbait. This right here is a Strike King's spinnerbait in Setsy Shad. But there's 3 recommendations I have for a spinnerbait. Has to be white and chartreuse, black, okay, black and blue, black and purple, you know, black or black and red, just a black and whatever color you want. This is a black and purple, but I like black and blue too for dirty water, kind of mimics a bluegill. And then finally, you got just white. I know this one ain't white, this is shad color, but straight up white. Those are the only 3 color recommendations I have for that one particular lure. So, you know, chartreuse and white, black and blue, and then just straight up white. That's about the perfect. Let me just tell you, you ain't going to go wrong with just white in any color water. I mean, I've fished chocolate milk. I mean, you can't see your lure more than like 6 inches under the water. And I fished one of these, and it was a cloudy day, and I caught like a 4-pound bass. You know, it's not uncommon to, you know, do that, but white and a spinnerbait, you can't go wrong. White or black and blue. But then you got, you know, now let's talk about rods real quickly. For wintertime, honestly, a spinning reel is about your best bet for drop shotting and Ned rigging. I say medium heavy. I personally like Abu Garcia, so medium heavy Abu Garcia or a medium heavy Duckett, whatever rod you like to use. Medium heavy or medium soft really works. But I think, you know, for the best way to fish in wintertime is, you know, you want to go on that softer tip, like a medium soft, and it helps out for, you know, your Ned rig. Also, real quick, one thing about line in the wintertime. Here, you know, we throw a lot of mono for topwater. We throw a lot of fluorocarbon. Braid, we don't really throw braid around here just because, I mean, it's really expensive. But let me just tell you something. If you want really good, like, line in general, Seaguar. Buy Seaguar fluorocarbon. And 6-pound to 8-pound test is really key for, you know, finesse fishing in the winter and fall and springtime. Because you can fit, you know, you can fish a Ned rig, you can fish a crankbait, a finesse, you know, style crankbait, or you can even fish the jerkbait. I mean, you can fish really a drop shots well, a lightweight Texas rig on it well, and those bass where they're more lethargic, you don't got to worry about them, you know, snapping your line. But all in all, that's like a quick, you know, 14-15 minute guide, because I don't got a lot of time. But if y'all like it, like what I had to say, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for all notifications. I'll see y'all later.